Good morning to all of you here watching us on the live stream. We're all doing this together. We're all exploring the 5 principles, right? This is week 2 of our 5-part series where we are exploring these 5 principles. And so let's just do a little recap of last week, real brief. So we're exploring principle 1, which states that God is absolute good everywhere present. And we talked about how we wanted to up-level our understanding, our concept of God, to sort of more accurately reflect our grown-up selves and our evolving consciousness. And so rather than seeing God as an entity out here, a being out there, we're opening to this idea of God as beingness. Beingness that is both transcendent and immanent. It is that infinite essence that is that absolute good. That's our foundation. And so as we move into the ideas of the second principle, we know that because God is all that there is nowhere and nothing that God is not. Well, by definition, that includes us, right? Every single one of us, every single people, every single person, right? If we understand God to be this infinite love intelligence from which all creation flows, we're part of that creation. We are included in that. We are included in the infinite universal mind. In fact, we are an idea in the mind of the universe, God's idea of itself in expression. You are an idea in the mind of the universe, God's idea of itself in expression. Right? So I know that in the wording of this principle, it speaks to this idea of we have a spark of the divinity within us. A spark. Please. We need to expand that concept. It's not just a spark, it's the whole flame. Right? It's the whole ball of wax. Come on. If Jesus said, "Ye are the light of the world," well, you can't light up the world with a little spark. We're the whole thing. We're the whole flame. There's nothing missing. There is no place where God stops and you start. There's no place where God, is watered down and then you take that up. If God is infinite divine love, we are infinite divine love expressing. If God is limitless good, we are limitless good expressing. If God is infinite intelligence, divine wisdom, limitless creativity, we are that intelligence, creativity, and wisdom expressing. If this infinite divine one is wholeness and well-being, we are wholeness and well-being expressing. Take that in for a moment. Breathe that in. That's huge, really. It's big. So really feel that truth. Feel yourself resonating with that truth. That is the absolute truth of every single one of us. Now, so, why does that not seem to be our everyday experience? Why can't we just be what we were created to be? It is the grand mystery of all life. The grand mystery. And I think, in part of it has to do with the fact that we're born into this world that is asleep and dreaming. Dreaming a dream of separation. I talk about this all the time. This dream that we're separate from Source. We're separate from each other. We're separate from our good. That dream. It's like the story of the little baby eagle that falls from the nest. And it's all alone. And a little mama hen, chicken, comes walking by and has compassion on this little, fluffy ball and decides to take it under its wing and raise it, raise this little baby eagle along with the rest of the chickies. So this little baby eagle, of course, is raised like chickens. Not taught to fly. It's taught to stay on the ground and peck at, the corn and the seeds and whatever else, because everybody else is doing it, right? The whole community of chickens are doing this, so why should it do any different? But as that eagle grows up, it begins to have this inner desire, this innate instinct that it wants to spread its wings and fly. But every time it tries, the mama chicken says, no, we don't do that here. No, you can't do it. Don't try. You'll get hurt. And so the eagle lives this compromised life. And yet all the time, it has this instinct, this knowing that there's something more, this yearning for something more. That's like us. We are infinite, universal, spiritual beings who are living in this world that tells us that we're not enough, that we are flawed, that lack and limitation and loneliness and illness are, the order of the day, that tells us that we are separate from each other, that we're living these little independent lives over here, disconnected from everyone else. That tells the world that tells us you got to struggle in order to survive. And so, okay, like the eagle, right? But all the while, we have something in us that is yearning for something more. Something that is yearning, that knows that there's something more. And maybe it's that inner knowing, that inner instinct that has steered us in a spiritual path. That is, in fact, brought us to unity. Where we're free to spread our wings and soar with the eagles. Right? That's what we're learning to do here. Now, we know it doesn't happen overnight, right? We know it's a process. It's a process that really, it's a process about discovering and uncovering the masterpiece that is within us. That masterpiece that is within us. It's also a process of healing those places that have gotten hurt, trying to make it, trying to fit in to this upside-down world, the world of the chickens. Trying to fit into that, those places, trying to defend our little sense of self, this little separated sense of self, trying to make it in a world from this little sense of self, trying to relate to others' little sense of self from our little sense of self, and getting triggered and triggering others. And so, you know how it goes. So it's a process of healing those wounds, because that's what they are, trying to make it in an upside-down world. Now, this little sense of self, we can call this little sense of self, a little separated sense of self, the ego. We can identify it like that. Now, Ellen Davenport has an interesting take on the ego in the book, The 5 Principles. And she says this: the ego is the functioning human, the part of us that gets up and gets through the day using a brain and 5 senses. The ego is not a bad thing, she says. It just forgets that it is not alone, not carrying the entire burden of our survival. It tends to overreact. Yeah, tends to overreact. And it's true. I think we have vilified the ego. I know I have. It's become like this modern-day devil, So instead of the devil made me do it, it's the ego made me do it. It's as if, this entity has come in to my body and taken over and made me behave badly or be unkind or, act terribly. So maybe it's time to revise our understanding of that, of the ego. Maybe it's time to revise that. So now we do know, of course, that people do act badly, right? Some people act very badly. We act badly sometimes. So remember last week we talked about this idea that the word evil is a misinterpretation that in the Bible. That the original Aramaic word, which Aramaic is the language that Jesus spoke, the original Aramaic word is bisha, which means unripe, not yet ripe. So sometimes we act from this very humid, sometimes wounded, and very unripe place within us. We haven't yet fully, we're not yet fully living from divine consciousness. Also, I believe, and it is my experience, that we are multidimensional beings. And I talk about this in my book, right? That we have many different levels, vibrational levels. And that highest vibrational level is our spiritual self, that divine consciousness. And that's the highest vibrational self. And we always want to, come from that place. We want to be one with that highest vibrational place. And we can access it when we open our heart and clear our minds and focus on thoughts of love and compassion and gratitude. Gratitude is a really good way to get us there. And we'll talk more about that and kind of how to do that in the coming weeks. But that's how, we get there. Now, here's the thing. We don't always stay there, right? We don't always stay in that higher vibrational place. We get sucked down into the dense physical, lower vibrational the world that everybody else lives in. We just, because that's the world, right? But here's the thing. This is the difference. We don't give up. We keep trying and practicing some more. And trying again and practicing some more. And after a while, it becomes easier. We stay there a little bit longer with each time, with practice. Excuse me. Now, many people don't even try to live from that highest consciousness. They don't care about ripening or growing into the highest divine potential. A lot of people really don't care. Until, of course, it becomes too painful to live from that lower vibration, that separated sense of self. When it becomes too painful, suddenly, the mind goes in a different direction. It's like suddenly, maybe there's another way. So Davenport talks in her book about how that growth, that ripening, happens with practice, as we were just saying. She also says that it also happens by putting the ego, let me see if I get this right. Yeah, putting the ego in service of the soul rather than the other way around. We want to put the ego in service of the soul, the spirit. So that soul, that inner spirit, needs to be cultivated, kind of like a tender flower, like an orchid. and nurtured and cared for and treated gently and allowed space to grow and ripen and become what it is capable of being. To express the fullness. The ego can take care of the physical, time-bound, three-dimensional world kind of stuff in service of the soul. In service of the soul. So, my husband, Dana, he every holiday season, he buys these boxes of, they're kind of grow-your-own amaryllis. They're little kits. Have you seen them? And he gets many. They make really good Christmas gifts. Excuse me. And so you get the whole kit. You get the bulb, and you get the pot, and you get the soil, and you just put it together, give it some water, and give it some light, and watch it grow into this big, bold, beautiful expression of life, right? They're really quite stunning. And so we did it again this year. We had all these boxes that we gave to neighbors and friends. And then there was one left over that we forgot about. I don't know, we just didn't even think about it. And only 2 weeks ago. And so he opens the box and he takes the bulb out. And amazingly, the sprout had already started in the box. Weird. But the weird thing was, it was white. It was all white. It looked so weird, like it was something from outer space. It was just strange. But he went ahead and he put that bulb in the soil, in the pot, and gave it some water and some light, soak in that, chlorophyll. Somehow that happens on a high school biology, I'm not sure, but I know it has something to do with chlorophyll that turns it green, right? Within 3 days, that white leaf had turned green. It's so amazing. And so now we're just going to sit back and watch this sprout begin to grow, ripen, and blossom into its big, bold expression of divine life energy. So that's us. That sprout is within us, and it cannot be suppressed forever. You can put us in a box, and it'll still. Life will find a way, right? It may look a little strange at first. It may be kind of a lame expression of being a loving, peaceful, joyous person. But you put it in some solid foundation. You give it some nutrients. You feed it with spiritual food. You allow it to soak in divine light, that higher vibration of divine light, and it is going to ripen and grow and become the magnificent expression that it is created to be. So we do this. We plant ourselves in the fertile soil of spiritual community, surrounded by other people, like-minded, open-hearted people who are working on the same thing that we are, that can affirm our growth as we affirm their growth. That's that solid foundation. We feed the growth with spiritual food of affirmative prayer and affirmations and sacred service, and we allow ourselves to soak in that light, that higher vibrational spiritual light through meditation. And we begin to ripen and grow and blossom. And all the while, also, we are forgiving ourselves when we don't get it right. When we, grow in an odd way or express in an odd way. We forgive ourselves and we keep trying. This is part of growth. This is what makes us strong. It's what makes it strong. is to recognize when we've made a mistake and to try again and to try again and to try again. So let's just take a moment together now and turn your attention within, and let's really see if we can reconnect with that highest vibrational, that highest divine awareness within us. Just breathing in and reconnecting with that awareness that there is a higher divine consciousness within us that is us. And we breathe deeply, relaxing the body, relaxing all sense of whatever is to come, all expectation. Relaxing into this present moment. We feel now planted in that solid soil, that solid foundation of spiritual community. We have that going for us. We allow ourselves to be fed. We feed the growth of that highest divine self through affirmations, through prayer work, through sacred service. And you know, if we haven't been doing that for a while, we can just forgive ourselves and try again, recommit again. I'm recommitting this moment to that spiritual food, that spiritual nourishment. And we allow ourselves to soak in this divine light, this higher vibrational self. We give time to meditation. And whatever form that looks like for you, whatever way it works for you, it's different for everybody. Just maybe recommit to that so that we can feel that energy of infinite divine life growing within us, ripening within us, blossoming within us. We feel it ripening, blossoming, and growing so that we can express that magnificence that is us. Breathing that in, letting it soak through all the way to the roots, letting the roots of our being soak in the nourishment of this spiritual community, of our spiritual practice. Breathing deeply, being willing to grow, to ripen, to become what we are capable of being. Taking a deep breath in, begin to bring our awareness back into the room, back into this moment. And looking around at all of these beautiful blossoms, beautiful expressions of divine life energy in unique ways. In the unique ways, we appreciate all the unique ways that each person shares of their beautiful gifts. And all of you too who are watching us online.